Well, hello. Hello, and welcome to the Coaching Business Spotlight Show. I'm your host, Kat Knecht, and I'm excited to share with you the many soul-driven strategies that are here to help you succeed in your business and your life. And today, we're going to look at marketing. Now, you might think that sounds like a dry topic, but I promise you, on this episode of Coaching Business Spotlight, I'm going to be telling some of my favorite stories because here's the truth. It's going to be just me today. So I invite you to sit back and relax and just take in some of the stories that I have to tell. And I'm going to, at the end of this show, I'm going to connect some dots around these stories. And as we go through to you, to your marketing, to how you can get your marketing message out in the marketplace. All right. Marketing can sound so transactional, like we're trying to do something to people. Maybe we're trying to trick them into some certain way of thinking. But we want them to think our way. We want them to come work with us. It can be. It can be marketing. A lot of marketing that companies do is intended to trick us into thinking we need some service or product that we actually don't. It might actually even be harmful. But marketing can be, and I believe it should be. I have a should for you today. When it comes to marketing your coaching business, it should be inspiring. And it can connect you to your passion, use your gifts, utilize your strengths. So, on today's show, we're going to unpack the topic of marketing when it comes to your coaching business. We're also going to look at some questions because that's how I do this show. I have some questions that I put out in the middle between us. So, here's one. What makes marketing easy? What makes marketing effective? What makes marketing impactful? All right. So I'm going to start out with a couple of stories. The first one, I shared just a little tidbit of this. I did an interview with the wonderful, fabulous Kat Williford. And today I'm going to tell that story a little bit. I'm going to fill in some of the blanks that I just sketched out. And this story also I wrote and put into a blog of mine. So here we go. This story begins with me sitting on the beach. And at this moment, I was contemplating my life and I got this hit. Oh my gosh. I'm sitting on a beach contemplating my life. I'm living a dream. That alone, because a beach is a high value of mine. Contemplating life is a high value of mine. Having time to really do that soul searching. So I believe in making dreams come true. And even though that might sound trite, it's one of the fundamental truths that has guided me all of my life. Now, here's the story. True story. I don't know, maybe I was 6 or 7 and my dad had put on a play. He put on a play, I think it was the South Pacific. So my dad he was a music he was the head of a music program of a small school in Ohio, Wapakoneta, Ohio. I think it's where Glenn Armstrong, the astronaut, or Neil Armstrong, sorry, Neil Armstrong, the astronaut. Totally aside from what I'm talking about. I'll get back on topic. So, South Pacific, there is a song called Happy Talkin', Happy Talk. Talk about things you like to do. You've got to have a dream. If you don't have a dream, how you gonna make a dream come true? So, I heard that song. I loved it. I always loved the musicals that my dad put on, but I got a little bit of afraid about this one because I thought, I don't know if I have a dream. What if I don't ever have a dream? I'll never make a dream come true. So I started thinking about what were my dreams. I knew I had a dream about romance. Oh my gosh. I at the time, even 6 and 7, I knew I liked romance and all the things that went along with it. So I thought, oh, well, that's a dream of mine is to fall in love and have that romantic experience. I also there was this question that adults would ask me a lot. What do you want to be when you grow up, sweetie? And this was my answer. I want to be an actress, a missionary, and a storyteller. I came up with this. Once I started thinking about this was connected to what was my dream. I'm like, well, I love getting up and putting on a play in front of my neighborhood. This was probably spurred by my dad and his musicals that he would put on. And I was raised in a Christian church, so I had a missionary idea, but I think it really came from my mom, who was a service oriented woman. She served her community. She served underserved communities, even though when I was growing up, she was going to it's college to get a doctorate degree so she could work in a university. That was her dream, was to be a college professor and to help other women. And she raised kids, and she worked as a teacher, but she never let go of her desire to serve. She was always doing something, and that inspired me. Now, so there was being an actress, like performing, there was being of service. But the other thing I love was telling stories. I loved telling stories as a kid. It was kind of part of how I put on a play. I also would tell my mom's stories. I would tell my friends stories. Like I would make up a story for us to do, like play out. You remember how you did that as a kid? You just, you go, let's do it. We like have an adventure. And I would make up the story. I'd say, so, I'd like talk about who we were and the characters and what we were going to do. The storytelling really, really served me as a kid, and it has served me my whole life. That ability, that love of telling stories. So now I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring this to you and your coaching business, because this is what makes marketing easy. It's what makes marketing effective. It's what makes marketing impactful. One piece is when you connect with what you're passionate about. That's what I have done. These are the things I'm passionate about. I'm imagining you have other things that you are passionate about, if you trace back to your childhood. This is an exercise I do in my Evolve Your Coaching Business course. More than once, I have the people taking the course. So we're looking at putting tactics in place, marketing tactics, let's say, really proven business strategies, but they have to connect with your passion. If you're really going to be able to get out in the marketplace, talk about what you do, and have people paying attention to what you have to say, because that's what's going to make your marketing effective. I want to talk a little bit. So I'm going to go into a tactical piece here. So there's one piece. You need to know what you're passionate about. I think this is true for everyone, not just coaches who are in business, but as a coach in business, it's essential. It's right at the heart of activating your marketing. You want to get out there. I get this question so often, and it's fun. I don't want to sound so disheartened there, but I do a lot of consultations with coaches who want to talk to me about their own business, and maybe I might be a fit to help them to grow their business, to become successful. And they want to start with, what do I do? To what, like when they're talking about marketing, Kat. So tell me, what do I do? I want to know what to do. How many of you out there have that question? What do I do? And that is not the place to start when you are looking at coaching your coaching business, at marketing your coaching business. You don't start with what you do. And this is also in my course. It's in my book, Evolve Your Coaching Business. First, you start with who you are, yourself, who you are, what's important to you, what brings you alive. That's where you start. Once you have that, once you know that, oh, these are the things I'm passionate about. And again, everybody is so different. I'm using myself as an example, but I know that you each have your own version of this. So you start with yourself, who you are, what's important. Next, you want to look at, who are the people you most want to serve. And I am talking about a niche. There's all this controversy out there about niching. I had one of the members of my community ask this question. We have a community platform, And he asked the question, can you niche down? Can you get niche too niched down? And my answer is no, as long as it's effective. So the reason to have a niche is because it makes your marketing more effective. You can speak directly to a person. You can bring a story. You can bring what you're going to help people with. You can talk about so many things when you can talk specifically to one person who is in a particular situation in life, has some specific problems, dreams, things that they're facing, all those things, like I'm doing right now. So, what makes marketing effective is first of all, knowing who you are, what's important. And second is having a niche so you can speak directly and bring stories and inspiration. Does this make sense? And I'm going to tell you I'm going to read one of my stories. It's directly off of my website in a moment to give you an idea of how this might work for you. So I know if you are a coach that you have a natural talent desire to connect with other people. Okay, I know this because that's what coaching is. Coaching is connecting with people. It's just getting in. I mean, we coaches, we do love that one-on-one connection we have. So is this making sense now? We love that one-on-one connection we have with people so we can hear so intimate and that vulnerability and intimacy and hear what's happening for that person and be able to ask the questions, hold the space for them to hear themselves, to get clear on their own wisdom, to take action in the direction of their hopes and their dreams. That's what you love as a coach. I'm making a generalization, but I've been training coaches for 15 years. And so I've worked with thousands, I don't know, maybe thousands and thousands of coaches. I know this is one of our common denominators. So here's the next piece when it comes to you and your coaching business is take that talent and take that desire and that the gifts and the skills that you have as a coach and use them in promoting your business exactly the same way. And I know when I say exactly the same way, of course, it's different because you have to find this is like the third piece is you need to put that together. And maybe it's the fourth piece, who you are, who your person is, so you can talk directly to them and connect in that way that you love to do as a coach, where you're speaking directly to a person about their hopes and dreams. And so that's the piece that you actually put that into the marketplace. That's the fourth piece. Your niche, your talents and strengths, the way you like to connect with people, and then you have to do it, which is different than the coaching. It is different. Because this is where we get a little more tactical, right? So those pieces, once they're in place, though, the tactics, they're not all that hard. You may have a learning curve on the tactics. I know I did. Oh boy, I didn't know. There are so many things, and over the last 25 years since I have been a professional coach and made it my career, things that they continually change. Right? When I first started out, there was not. I mean, we had email when I started out, but the internet wasn't anything like it is today. It's social media, none of these channels were available, and yet I marketed my coaching business successfully because it's basically the same thing as it's always been. It's finding ways to connect with people. That's that's this last piece to look at with marketing. So some of the ways that I have in my coaching course, my coach business coaching course, I call it engage with in the marketplace. There's speaking, there's going to networking groups, there's writing. Like I do with my blog, you can write, you can create a newsletter, you can write things on social media. Writing is a great way performing. You can get into the more fun pieces like podcasting, like this is once you've got your niche established. You can talk to people So one of the stories in my book, Evolve Your Coaching Business, I talk about my front porch marketing plan. And this is how I did it. Way back in the day, I had this gorgeous front porch, and it was in this small town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And it happened to be right on a pathway where a lot of people walked by my house because there was a YMCA at the top of the hill on my street where there was a whole wonderful programs. That's where most people in the town went for yoga or different kinds of activities, exercise classes, courses. They took their kids there for swimming lessons. So it was and the town of Gettysburg was at the other end of my street. So it just happened to be people would park and walk up there, or if they lived close by, that's where they would walk by. So I had some people walking by. So this was my plan. My plan was to sit on my porch, study my coaching. I was in certification at the time. I was preparing, I was doing all kinds of things for my exam, and just to talk to people. Honestly, this was the plan. And it launched my coaching business. My niche at the time was entrepreneurs. It was a pretty general niche. You can start out a little general, but the more specific I got, the more my coaching business grew. But just with this one plan, I found a way to here's how I'm going to be able to talk to people. And in the time I implemented this plan, two magical things happened. One was a woman who I vaguely recognized was walking by, and she actually walked up onto my porch while I'm, doing something for my coaching. This had been my plan too, and she asked me what I was doing. And I told her I'm in this coaching program and this is what coaching does for people. And I just told her a little bit about it. And I asked her, what she would walked up on my porch like she told me that she was the director of the YMCA, and my son Devin happened to work for the YMCA at that time. And so I knew her. I was like, "Oh, that's where I recognize you from." She said, "Well, I'm doing a fundraising. We're going to have this 5K race and I'm looking for sponsors." So she told me about what she had to do. And then we chatted a little bit more. And she said, this coaching thing sounds kind of interesting. And I have a team that I work with as a director, and I think they could really use some coaching." She said, "Would you like to let's set up a time to talk and let's see if this is something that might be helpful for my team." Okay, this actually happened and I did it. I had the conversation with her. I think I'm making this up, but I think she had 10 people on her team. I interviewed all those people, all the 10 people, and I had a contract with her to work with those 10 people individually. First of all, to coach them, to kind of find their passion and purpose and bring it to the work they were doing at the YMCA. And there was also some team coaching that was involved with this. Another woman came up onto my porch. She happened to be an acquaintance of mine, it was in my circle of friends, and she was walking to the Y, and she said, Kat, I'm having a gathering tonight, and maybe you'd be interested in coming." Because I talked to her. She asked again, like, "So what are you doing, Kat? You look like, we just said hi. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what coaching is about." I told her a little bit about how it helps people. I went to that party that night, and she called me out in front of the whole group and she said, "Kat's doing a new thing. You all want to hear about it." And so I got the chance to do some promotion of my coaching business. And there were a few people who were interested, and I set up sample sessions with them. Okay. There was one more person who walked up on my porch. This is true story. And she was my yoga teacher at the Y. And she's like, "Hi, Kat, how's it going?" We just for chit chat. And she's like, "What you doing?" Again, I told her, "Here's what I'm doing." So as I'm telling you these stories, what I want you to get from this for you is this is why. Anyway, I'll complete that story. So once she knew what I was doing, she asked me to or invited me to talk about my business after every yoga class. She said, "Kat, the people in this yoga class really need what you have to offer because I can give them the physical part. I can connect them with their bodies and bring on, there's a spiritual part, but they need your help to get into action to do what they really want to do." So those were three things that happened to me And one of the things I want to make clear about this was I knew what I part of the marketing plan I had, my front porch marketing plan was I had a clear idea of how to talk about what I did. And I knew enough about marketing at the time to know that it was important to talk about the people. Here's what I could do for you. Here's what use some stories about how coaching works. This is what is so I've talked about this at the beginning of this show. We're talking about having stories to tell. You want to be able, you want to have stories. You can tell your own story. I'm going to tell one of mine here in a moment. I'm telling you one of mine right now, right? Stories that people can relate to. Stories about, you can, like, I used to do this a lot at networking groups, kind of make up a client. I would say, so here's an idea. Like, and this is in my book. There's some story starters. So do you know when there's a coach is sitting at their computer they're looking at what do I do with my coaching business, and they just get a headache because they're just like, I don't know what steps to take. So you can just talk about it like that. It's really, really simple. Do you know when is one of my favorite, or kind of just bring on a scenario about a person that you might help. This is what I did with my front porch marketing plan and why it works so well for those three people. Now, you might not have a front porch. This might sound kind of corny to you as a way to go about it, but think about something you do have, some organization you're a part of, or some groups that you go to, or that you could go to. Because we all know you can get this out on social media. You can, writing a blog and a newsletter is great, but you also need to be able to speak to people. Now, here's another true story. I had a client, one of my very first clients who was looking to grow her coaching business. This was a long time ago. Like I said, one of my first, and her marketing plan was to have coffee with people. That was like, this is what we worked on for a couple of months. She was going to set up coffee chats with people who worked for nonprofit organizations that she wanted to be a coach for. She wanted to coach in nonprofit organizations. So she set up coffee dates with people who work for nonprofit organizations. Some of them she knew she could contact directly. I'd just like to talk to you about your organization and what you do, and what are some of the things that you could really use support around. So it was, people love to talk about themselves. Really, really simple. She also asked, do you know someone? Asked the people she knew. She set up these coffee chats. I'm going to say it was like over 6 months time. She had the chat. We had done the niche work that's important to do. Like I said, she knew what she was good at, which was these one-on-one chats. She was passionate about the nonprofit world, and her niche were these nonprofit organizations. And there were some really specific ones that she had. Within 6 months, we had a conversation. We took a look at how it was working, because she started, some of the people she talked to hired her as a coach. Some of the organizations invited her in to do coaching with some of the people on their executive team. And when she told me, and maybe this was a little longer than 6 months. So I'm going to say at 6 months, her business was building and growing. And within a year, she was making more money than I was. That's what I remember saying, let's check in on your income. And she told me the numbers. I was like, whoa, this was your goal. She had a goal to replace her corporate job that she had working for this nonprofit with coaching. And she was able to do it effectively using these tactics, I'm going to say, of what she was good at and having a clear niche. And then this third part, which was bringing her story. I'm going to bring this show not to a close yet. I have one more story. I'm going to tell a story. This story is on my website. Okay. I'm going to tell this story. And just so you get an idea of how you can tell a story and make it really effective for you and your coaching business. Okay, story time. There are many, many reasons that I am passionate about what I do, but this story I'm about to tell you is the origin of that passion and motivation for me to have the soul driven success business academy for coaches. Okay, here we go. I was gripped with fear and I felt frozen behind my uncomfortable and tiny school desk. My fifth grade teacher had just asked me to stay after class, and this could only be something bad. I was new to the school and I'd been doing my best to fit in, though I had discovered in my 10 short years on the planet that I was just not meant to blend in with the crowd. 2 years previous to this fifth grade call to stay after class, I had been called to the front of another classroom. And on that occasion, my teacher told me to bend over, and she then paddled me with one of those big wooden paddles and humiliated me in front of my peers. The sting of the shame was much greater than the sting of that paddle hitting my little backside. In that case, I've been asked by my teacher to spell out the word beautiful, to spell it out loud during a spelling drill. I'd always gotten straight A's in spelling. I thought I was good at spelling, but I was good at memorizing because right then when I was being put on the spot, I realized I couldn't actually spell. I was frozen with fear. I just couldn't put all those vowels together correctly. So when the teacher asked me to try again and then again, I couldn't get the letters to behave. So she thought I was clowning around and making fun of her, hence the paddling. Back to the fifth grade, that moment when I was asked to go to the front of the class. I was finally able to move from my desk and I approached my teacher in the room, and the room was now unnaturally empty and quiet. And she began to talk and tell me her reason for detaining me on this cold fall day. I had to really focus to hear what she had to say. And I was so surprised. It took me a minute to comprehend that she was saying something positive, something that had happened because I had made a choice to do things my way. After that spelling debacle, I made a choice. I didn't know it at the time, but I had a learning disorder called dysgraphia. What I did know was that my brain didn't compute in a normal way when it came to the actual, I could read just fine, but I couldn't write things down. That's where my brain dysfunctioned. So I decided after that humiliating and painful moment that I would have to get creative, use a different kind of strategy when it came to doing my schoolwork. That's what I knew if I wanted to succeed. So instead of writing essays where I could get tripped up on the spelling, I decided I would use my strength at performing, speaking, and telling stories. I had excelled in my own little community of friends in rural Ohio by doing just this: writing, performing, and orchestrating plays and adventure for the neighborhood kids. When asked to do a project on Lewis and Clark for my fifth grade history class, instead of writing a paper, I wrote and performed a play about Sacagawea. So my teacher was now asking me if I would be willing to perform my play in front of all of the classes in our middle school. My play was a hit. It was one of the most surprising things that had happened in my life up to that point. I never imagined something like that could happen. Using my strengths, my talents, and my own creative gifts had paid off. And it was a strategy that would help me succeed in the greatest endeavors of my life. That was how I found joy in motherhood. When I was able to purchase my dream house, and it was useful as I climbed the ladder of the United States Postal Service. It was essential in my pursuit of success in my coaching business. When I made the choice to break free from the Postal Service, from their golden handcuffs and the security of having a solid government career, I decided to start my own business, and I carried this lesson with me. I knew there were proven business strategies to apply, and I knew I had to use my own strengths and talents, just like I had in fifth grade. In order to succeed as a coach, to have a fruitful and lasting career in this field, I would have to do it my way. In 2002, as my coaching career was beginning, I was fortunate to be a part of a business training program with the Coactive Training Institute. I was thrilled to be chosen as one of the first leaders of this program. I loved applying the business strategies I learned in this program while being supported to honor my values and bring my creativity to the mix. and leading and learning with other coaches to discover and implement their own mix of strategy and strengths was exhilarating. This joy of teaching, leading, and learning with a committed community of coactive coaches was my dream come true because together we learned how to succeed in business. And it's been this a goal. We all had this goal to help other people live their best lives. It's a great old combination. So I, of course, had to find my own way in this amazing business of coaching. I read books, I took other business building courses, and I worked with many business coaches, teachers, and consultants over the years. I had to try things out to fail, fall flat on my face at times. How many of you have done that? Yeah, that's what we got to do, right? I had to find things that thrilled me. Some of those things, I had my own networking group. I became an interfaith minister and I wrote a best-selling book. There can be thrilling things. I learned to integrate. I integrated what I love most, those things like what would benefit my clients using strengths my way. So one of the delightful surprises I discovered was that helping entrepreneurs land their ideal niche. That's a superpower of mine. This is why I keep talking about it. All right. So my success has taken time. It's taken effort and money and patience and a lot of support from other coaches, colleagues, and consultants. No one was more surprised than me when I decided to bring this all together and open my doors for my business academy for coaches. But it felt just right. Okay. To do this in community as I did back in my childhood, as well as my wonderful experience of leading for the Coactive Institute. And nothing has brought me more joy in my 20 plus years as a coach than supporting other coaches with this combination strategy and soul to access creativity to build a unique business that is prosperous, fulfilling, and brings much needed support to others. Okay, so that's my story. It's on my website. You can go read it. I get inspired just when I touch base with it myself because all these things I've said to you today are true. This is how you are going to succeed. Know who you are, what's important to you. Know the most right people for you to help and serve and get your message out there into the marketplace and do it your way. Find your way to connect with people, to inspire them and give them hope. All right, here's one more thing I want to add before I sign out. I'm going to be hosting a workshop called Activate Your Marketing on April 8th at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, where I can help you live. We're going to be answering questions. We're going to be doing 3 really cool exercises around your marketing mindset, your marketing message, and putting that into the marketplace. I'm going to be offering a way to get into action to support you in that. I hope to see you there. I appreciate you tuning in today, listening to my show, being a part of my community in some way. It matters to me. So thank you.